Once upon a time, in Bnei Brak, there was a man who was well known. He was a man who used to drive around on a three-wheeled bicycle that had a basket, a huge basket in front of it, and he would drive to all the city dumps and all of the outside all the chasna halls and outside all the major garbage areas, and he would collect artifacts, little things that people threw out that he thought could be used. He would collect them. He's what we call in America a hoarder. And whenever he found something he thought was useful, he'd bring it home. And he did it for year after year after year until the pile of junk in his house didn't have any room, so he moved out to his yard. And then after a couple of more years, the dirt in his yard didn't have any room, so it began to get higher and higher. He began to throw it up on top of the pile until he had this massive thing of junk, garbage, outside his house. And people, the neighbors would say, "Stop, we have rodents, we have all kinds of snakes. We don't want this mess." And he would say, no, this is very important things. I need to have, every single one of them has a purpose. Maybe one day I'm going to need it. It got to a point that the city got involved, the Bnei Brak city got involved, and they sent out a team who evaluated and decided this is a public health hazard. They're going to remove this junk against his will. This man was so beside himself. He spent years working to build up this huge pile of dirt. And he said, "You can come, but I'm going to be stopping you physically." So when the team comes to clear away all of the garbage from his yard, which is affecting all the neighbors, he stands there over my dead body, and he's stopping, and he's pushing, and he's shoving. So the team calls in the police. The police take him. They arrest him. And they brought in trucks and trucks. Many dump trucks are filled up of all of his psoilas. Not only that, the town then sent them another team from the Eichut HaSviva, where they then went and they planted a park for him in his yard, and they gave him park benches and trees and underground sprinkler system. And after they finished everything, finally the police let him out of jail and allowed him to go home. 6 months later, a reporter who knew about the whole thing wanted to see how did this hoarder change his life. Did he go back to his old habits or not? So he comes down with his cameras. He's going to write a report, put a thing about this guy. And he gets to the house and he sees the man sitting on the bench outside the house that was installed by the Misrad Leichut HaSviva, staring at the flowers, enjoying the yard. So he says to the man, "Can I ask you a couple of questions? Can you tell me how you feel now that you have a beautiful yard to live in instead of all of the garbage that was here?" So the man said, "To be honest, this is like Chayim la'achar mavis. It's like life after death." He says, "When I had all the junk here, it blocked the light from coming into my house. I had no sunlight because the pile of garbage was already 2 stories high." He says it affected the quality of the air because the air was so full of bacteria and viruses and everything. I had lung problems. I had to take medication for my lungs to clear it out. And overall, I had blood pressure issues, I had other issues, but since they came and cleared out my yard, suddenly I'm a new man. I'm 10 years younger. I feel healthier." So the reporter said to him, "So tell me, why didn't you clean out the garbage yourself?" So the man said, "Because when you're sick, it's hard to realize how sick you really are. Only after it was forcibly taken away from me do I realize how sick I am." So Rabbi Yaakov Galinsky would say, this man is a mashal to all of us. Over years and years, we come and we collect a bad midah over here. We collect a avera over there. Different behaviors, whether it's a learned behavior or whether it's an inherent behavior. We collect things over the years to the extent that we don't even feel how sick we are. But when we do tshuva, we're able to suddenly have chayim la'achar mavis, to realize how many averas, how many negative things we've collected into our habits over time, and realize after we let go of it that it's like life after death, that we thought we could never live without a smartphone. We thought we could never live without knowing how the news is and checking up on what's going on with the hostages every single day. And we thought we need to know how the stock market's going every single day. We thought this is life. But if we have the opportunity to free ourselves from this, it's like life after death. We realize that we really can be free, we can be healthier, we can breathe easier, we could really enjoy and live in the moment and not be distracted from the people around us and from our lifestyle, and to really connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu by connecting to ourselves. So Rabbi Lapian would say, and others would say, that it says in the pasuk, Yu chatoechem kashanim kasheleg yalbinu. So what's the pshat in that pasuk? Yu chatoechem kashanim means if it's bright red, if it's a big blotch, you're walking around and you can feel it, you can see it, you can smell it. The aveira is all over you. Even that, kasheleg yalbinu. It's possible to do tshuva. How do we do tshuva? It doesn't come by going to say Hashamnu Bagadnu Gazanu. That's not how we do tshuva. That's how we do vidoy. Tshuva is done by, first of all, being makir that we're doing something wrong. There's something that has to be fixed.
Video is confession, you're saying?
Correct. Vidoy is confession. That's the last stage of tshuva. The first stage of tshuva is azivas hachet, to stop doing it. If we feel it's wrong to have this publication in our house, if we feel it's wrong to hang out with a certain person, if we feel that somehow our phone or the app, a specific app, whatever it might be, everyone has their own thing that they know, their own cheshbon nefesh, right? To know what it is, that's the first thing, is to be makir what it is that has to be fixed, and azivas hachet, and to stop doing that. The next step after azivas hachet is charata, excellent. To regret that we ever allowed ourselves to fall into this. Like the man sitting on the fresh air, realizing, wow, this life after death, I'm able to live without this app. I'm able to live without that publication. I'm able to live without those people who always speak Lashon Hara. I'm able to really be the Yid I want to be. Wow, there's life after death. Next comes Kabbalah al Ha'asid. So that means, Rabbi say, tshuva starts today. Tshuva started, the Mefarshim say, the Bali Musa say, Mordei Kazach. It says we come in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu on Yom Kippur and the Yom Hadin, Kibnei Marain. What does Kibnei Marain mean? So it's machlekes in the Gemara. Does it mean Kechayolei Shel Beis David, the way the soldiers used to march into battle, or does it mean the way the sheep go under the stick? But whatever it is, it's one at a time. Who gets there in front? Who's the first online? We know the Gemara in Ba'avodah Zarah says that there's an Indian, you want to go earlier, because after HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees people did a lot of Averis, the Midas Hadin is Nis'ayrer. So the Melech, the Gemara in Avodah Zarah says, Melachim, the kings go first, so that HaKadosh Baruch Hu shouldn't want to destroy the whole Ummah, because he's not angry yet when he sees the people's Averis. So when it comes to the Yom Hadin, Kibnei Marain, you want to be first online before the Midas Hadin is Nis'ayrer. Who gets online first on the Yom Hadin? Who's Kibnei Marain? That's going to be the first in the single file as we march in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Who gets there first? It depends when you started doing tshuva. The first people who did tshuva get first online. If you started doing tshuva Elul, you're first online. If you start doing tshuva today, get to the back of the line. Because you're late. You're starting late. Kibnei Marain. The earlier we start doing tshuva, and if we start doing tshuva now, Rabbi say, I give you a assurance you'll be pretty close to the front of the line. All right, we're living in a funny times. Even if you start today, you're at the front of the line. But we have to start today. That means to be makir the chet, azivas hachet, charata, kabbalah al ha'asid, and only then do we think about al chet shechatanu l'fanecha. That's the last thing. Al chet shechatanu is the last thing, and that's not something that happens on Rosh Hashanah. That happens now, before Rosh Hashanah, that we have to start doing tshuva. And if we do tshuva, im yu chatoechem kashanim, even if our averis are big blotches, big bright red stains, kasheleg yalbinu, it'll become whitened, it'll wipe away and become as white and clean as snow. But the Mefarshim say kashanim, the word kashanim also means years. Im yu chatoechem kashanim, if it's been years that you've been doing the averis. Even many years, I've been doing it since I'm 15, I've been doing it since I'm 7. Im yuchatechem kashanim, it feels like, how will I ever get rid of it? Kashanim, it's like old, years and years. But if we do the steps of tshuva, of azivas hachet, charata, kabbalah al ha'asid, and vidoy, kasheleg yalbinu, even that aver will become white, like snow, very white, beautiful, clean, crisp. It's like when you wake up on a Shabbos morning and you see 6 inches of snow in your backyard. It's like, That's Me'ein Olam Haba. That's the world like with a white, beautiful talus over it. That is Kasheleg Yalbinu, what it's like. No matter how bad the Averis are, it's Geshmak.
Not if you have to shovel it.
On Shabbos. On Shabbos, yeah. So Rabbi Apian would say, Amar de Kazach, he said, we say in davening that Al Tashlichenu Milfanecha V'ruach Kodshecha Al Tigach Mimenu. What do we say next? Al Tashlichenu Le'es Zikna. Okay. What did we say before? Shema Kalin Hashem Elokeinu Chos V'rachim Leinu V'kabel V'rachamim V'ratzanes Tfiloseinu Hashivenu Hashem Eilecha V'nashuva Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem. Imagine we're standing in front of Hashem and we're saying, Hashem, I've done Averis. Hashivenu Hashem Eilecha. Despite all the Averis that I've done, Hashivenu, return us, return me, Eilecha to you, V'nashuva. Imagine the chutzpah to go in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu after all of the Averis that I've done and to say to him, Hashivenu Hashem Eilecha V'nashuva. And then I go further. My chutzpah is not done. Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem? What does Kekedem mean?
Wait.
Began Eden Mikedem, right? Kisamecha Yitzircha, Began Eden Mikedem. Chadesh Yameinu. The way it always was. Right. Meaning I've been doing these Averis Kashanim, years and years, and I'm telling HaKadosh Baruch Hu, despite all my years of Averis, I'm asking you, Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem. What kind of chutzpah is that? Honesty. To ask that to HaKadosh Baruch Hu?
Honesty is good.
Honesty is good. So be honest and say, Hashem, throw me out. You don't need me. As a matter of fact, I'm not even going to say Al Tashlichenu Milfanecha because I deserve to be thrown out. I deserve to be thrown off the bridge. But I'm still having the chutzpah to say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Al Tashlichenu Milfanecha. 1 second. Milfanecha? I've been doing Averis for so many years and I'm standing in front of Hashem and I'm now telling Hashem, Al Tashlichenu, don't throw me away. And then we go further. V'ruach Kodshecha? Don't take away the Ruach HaKodesh, Hashem, I'll keep that. After all the Averis that we're saying, Hashivenu Hashem, Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem, after all that, Al Tashlichenu, then we're saying, let me keep my Ruach HaKodesh. What's the pshat? What's going on in this tefillas? So the Mefarshim talk about it. There's many different mahalchim in this. And one of the ways that I saw is brought down from the Mefarshim as follows. Rabbi Yitzchak of Berditchev once met a younger man, and he was talking to him, and he saw the younger man didn't look like a Yari Shamayim. He saw that this was a man who was succumbing to many nisyonis. So he said to him, younger man, I want to learn with you, I want to be mechazik, I want you to do tshuva. So the younger man says to him, Rebbe, trust me, not me. I'm the wrong guy. No tshuva for me. It's because everyone else does Averis l'teyavoin. I do Averis l'hachas. I'm here to show God, don't mess with me, all right? I'm in control. I don't want to be told what to do. Trust me, God doesn't want my tshuva. So Rabbi Yitzchak, the heilige Rabbi Yitzchak, who's malamid chus on everyone, he says to the younger man, I'm a kana in your olam haba.
When you do tshuva,
exactly. He says, because when I do tshuva, I'm doing tshuva because I'm a Rebbe. Right? I have to show my Hasidim. I do tshuva. I get kavod. I get gelt, pejoinus. There's things that go on. Other people do tshuva. Why am I doing tshuva? I have kavana by Shmona Esrei because the guy standing next to me is going to see my eyes closed when I'm going like this. And therefore I do tshuva. But you, when you do tshuva, you're not trying to show off for anyone. You're doing tshuva because you really want to do tshuva. Mamish mitoich hava. You're the one who amekana your olam haba, because as low as you are, that's as high as you're going to rise. So says Rabbi Galinsky, based on this story, it's Hashivenu Hashem Eilecha. Hashem, I know how low I am. I know how filthy dirty I am. And therefore I ask you, Hashivenu Hashem Eilecha v'nashuva. Bring me so much higher. Chadesh Yameinu kekedem. Kisamechacha yitzircha began eden mikedem. Bring me all the way back to Adam Rishon Koydem Achet, before the original sin, because of how low I am. Therefore I'm able to rise so high. Al tashlichenu milfanecha. And when I get up there from my low place and you take me to the highest of the high, I might not look like I belong there. Al tashlichenu milfanecha. Please don't throw me away just because I'm not dressed the way you expect me to be dressed as a tzaddik, because I wasn't a tzaddik. And v'ruach kodshecha al tikach bimeni. Let me hold on to that high madrega, for that inspiration, the ruach of kedusha, the feeling of dveikus nakadosh baruch Hu, that I'm going to feel, that I feel at that time when I do the tshuva. Please let that stay with me. Al tikach mimeni. But the Mefarshim take this one step forward, and they say that v'ruach kodshecha al tikach mimeni. Who is this? What is this ruach hakodesh? On one hand, it's taka, our own ruach hakodesh, that madrega that we reach when we go from our low and filthy, dirty place and rise to the highest of the high. We taka our zeicha to ruach hakodesh. But at the same time, that ruach hakodesh is your divine spirit that comes to us through our rabbeim, through our rabbanim, through our chavrusas, through our spouses, people who inspire us, people who, when we're exposed to them, we feel elevated. We feel a ruach of kedusha just being around them. That's what we're davening for. V'ruach kodshecha. Please make sure there's people around me that inspire me and allow me to be elevated by them, and make sure I always have the right friends, the right environment, like coming together. The Olam here comes together all the time for the Ruach HaKodesh, for the Ruach Kodesh to inspire each other and to be machazik each other and to vinch on each other with good. That's the Ruach Kodesh al tikach mimeni that we're asking for. There's a Merdika story that went around, maybe you all heard it, but on October 7th, many of the kibbutzim that were attacked were extreme leftist kibbutzim, and the people who lived there were very, very secular. Ad kedei kach, that there were people who didn't know the pasuk of Shema Yisrael. You could start Shema Yisrael and they can't finish the pasuk for you. That's how secular they are over there. And there's a famous story that went around. There was a general in the Israeli army who was home, and he only had his handgun with him. And as the attack happened, he locked himself into his home together with his wife, and they barricaded themselves inside. And as the shooting's going on, the general tells his wife, I think I have to engage. I have to go out and do what I can. So she says, but how can you go out? What do you have? He says, I have a handgun, and I have 12 bullets. So he has a handgun and 12 bullets. He's going to go out against an RPG, a couple of RPGs, a couple of M16s. Going to go show him what he can handle. Going to go engage the terrorists. So she says to him, no, you're not. He says, yes, I am. That's what I'm trained to do. You engage. So he doesn't listen to her. He goes outside. So as he gets outside the door, he turns the corner and he's looking face to face at a terrorist. Pops him, and the guy drops dead. He turns the other way, face to face with another terrorist, pops him, and drops dead. Walks around to the other side of the house, another terrorist, 11 bullets, 11 terrorists dead. He has one bullet left. And he moves around to his neighbor's house, and there's a terrorist pointing an M16 at his head. And he pulls his handgun and he points it at the terrorist, and he says to the terrorist in Arabic, we're either both going to die or we're both going to put our guns down. So the Arab lowers his gun and he shoots the terrorist and he drops dead.
Beautiful. I love it.
Ma'aseh shahaya kachaya.
It's good.
He's out of bullets. So what do? He goes back home to his wife. Because what's he going to do? He can't stay outside anymore.
Why didn't he take his machine gun?
He didn't have one. That's all he had.
Killed the guy.
Oh. I don't think Kasha for mice. He goes back home and he tells his wife what happened, and she's crying. She couldn't believe that she's seeing him alive. She was sure that he was gone. And he said to her, "What were you doing when I was out there?" So she said, "I was praying for you." "And what were you doing?" she said to him. So he said, "I just kept on saying, Shema Yisrael, Shema Yisrael, Shema Yisrael." So someone asked him, "What comes after that?" He says, "I don't know. That's all I knew to say. And I kept on saying Shema Yisrael, and 12 bullets, 12 terrorists down." So someone said a beautiful word. Shomer Yisrael. Shemar She'eris Yisrael. Hashem, who's our Shomer. We'd ask you, Shemar She'eris Yisrael. Please protect the She'eris, the leftovers, the remnants, the She'eris Apleta, those who are off on the side. V'al yoivad Yisrael, and they should not be lost, those who say Shema Yisrael and nothing else. That's all they know to say is Shema Yisrael.
Did Yisrael have?
12. All they know, we daven, even the Yidden who can only say Shema Yisrael and nothing else. Al yoivad Yisrael, ha'imrim Shema Yisrael, and we daven and we say Aselaman harugim al shem Kadshecha, Aselaman Tevuchem al Yichudecha, Aselaman Bo'esh Uvamayim al Kiddush Shemecha. What are these three things? They're the same thing over and over again. Aselaman Harugim al Shem Kadshecha. Aselaman Tevuchem al Yichudecha. Same thing. Aselaman Bo'esh Uvamayim al Kiddush Shemecha. So the Mefarshim say an amazing thing. This is the three different madregas of Yidden who are Meiser Nefesh al Kiddush Hashem, who lose their lives al Kiddush Hashem. Harugim al Shem Kadshecha is someone who's killed by unwillingly, without him knowing. A terrorist blows up a bus, the Nazis kill him. That is Harugim al Shem Kadshecha. Tevuchim al Yichudecha, they're slaughtered, unifying you, being makir, being mekabel your old malchus, saying Shema Yisrael. Those are this person who we spoke about. Those are the 400 boys and girls who jumped off. They were Bo'ei Shuvamayim. They were Tevuchim al Yichudecha. Those who were killed because they're Jews, and they knew they were being killed because they're Jews. And Bo'ei Shuvamayim are those who are Meiser Nefesh willing. They jumped off the boats. The 400 that jumped off the boats. They were Bo'ei. They came Bo'ei Shuvamayim al Kiddush Shemecha, to sanctify Hashem's name. And we daven on the schus of all these three different groups who gave up their lives for Kedushas Hashem, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu should have Rachmanis on us today, that we shouldn't have to give up our lives. We shouldn't have these nisyonos, chas v'shalom, that so many Yidden are suffering from and in harm's way. Rather, in their zchus, asay, do for us in the zchus of those Yidden who did suffer, for the zchus of those Yidden who did lose their lives. Hashem, have rachmanis on us who are surviving, that we should be saved, beruchnias uvegashmias, from all the terrible things that are going on. During the Holocaust, there was a Rav whose name was Rav Meiselish from the city of Witzel maybe it is, that he was in the camps and he wrote a sefer which was to Le'ili Nishmas all the Rabbanim that were killed during the Holocaust, and he collected Mipi Shmua from hearsay shilas that were asked to Rabbanim during the Holocaust. And in his Akdama he shared his own experiences, and he shared one interesting story during his experience, that it was Erev Rosh Hashanah Tafshin Daled, Mamish this time of year. Erev Rosh Hashanah Tafshin Daled is how many years ago?
81.
Exactly 81 years ago. So it's Erev Rosh Hashanah. The Nazis found 1,600 Bachurim between the age of 10 and 17 that had been somehow forgotten about by the Nazis. And they suddenly found them, and they said, we got to deal with this Jewish problem. So they took a big stick, which is about 5.5 feet tall, and they made everyone walk under the stick. Whoever wasn't tall enough to hit the stick, you know, like when you want to go onto a roller coaster, right? Whoever it doesn't get tall onto that stick is too young, too small to be necessary, and was going to be liquidated the next day, sent to the gas chambers. Of the 1,000 And 600 Bachurim, only 200 were able to touch the stick, and 1,400 were put away, and the Nazis told them, tomorrow we are going to gas you and burn you in the crematorium. 200. Only 200 survived, were able to make it. During that day, they realized that the guards were kapos. The guards who were keeping these boys locked up were actual Jews who were appointed by the Nazis, who collaborated with the Nazis willingly or unwillingly, but they were able to be bribed. The problem was, if you bribe a capo to give up one of the two of the 1,400, he has to replace that child because the Nazis kept records. So the shaila was, if you can afford to take out your son, is it mutter knowing that the capo is going to take someone else's son? Someone else is going to die because of it. So a father came to Rav Meislish with this question, and he says, I can afford to get my son out. He's my only son. I don't have another son. Is it mutter for me to pay the capo knowing that the capo is going to take someone else's son and he'll die tomorrow? So Rav Meislish said to him, I'm in Auschwitz with you. I don't have any Sfarim. I don't have the Rishonim. I can't paskin for you. So he says, but Rebbe, I need a psak. I need a psak now. I can't paskin. I don't have my Sfarim here. So he says, Rebbe, if you don't tell me it's mutter, I'm assuming you're paskining that it's usser. And I'm not going to do it. So Meislish said, I didn't say that. I said, I don't know. You never asked me the question. That's what I'm telling you. I look at this as if you never asked me the question. So the man said, if you don't tell me it's mutter, I'm paskening it's usser, I'm not going to do it. Shevi al taseh. And he got up, he left Rav Meislish, and he walked around the camp saying the following thing. He says, today is Rosh Hashanah. I'm being zoiche to do my own Akedas Yitzchak. I could have saved my son, but I'm not, because I don't think that's what Hashem wants from me. That room, that block where they kept these 1,400 Bachurim was another Bachur. His name was Moshe Rosenberg. Hashem Yinkoin Damai. This Moshe Rosenberg was 20 years old, but he was very short. And therefore, he didn't hit the stick. And he was the Chayzer, meaning in yeshiva, he was like the Spitz Bachur. You know, the Bachur who said over the Rosh Hashiva Shiurim. And everyone knew he was a muflag b'Torah. He was an amazing Talmud Chacham. He was an amazing Yeri Shamayim. And there was another Bachur who came over to Rav Meislish and said to him, he says, Rebbe, what's going to be with Moshe Rosenberg? So he says, what do you mean? He says, he's going to die. We can't let a Bachur like that die. Klal Yisrael needs him. He's a future gadol. So Meislish says, what are we going to do? Like, what's there to do? You have a plan? Like, what are we going to do? So he says, yeah, I have a plan. He says, I happen to have enough money to bribe the capo to let him out. But the problem is they're going to take someone else. I volunteer. I'll go into the block. I'm going to let Moshe Rosenberg out because he's a Talmud Chacham and Yeri Shamayim. He's used to become a gadol. And I'm a nobody. I anyway lost my parents already. They were killed. My sister was murdered. I'll go in. I have no reason to live anyway.
You don't know. You don't know what.
So Rav Meislish said to him, in Hashem's eyes, my chazis the dama di dach sumak tvei dilma dama de chavach sumak. How do you know your blood is redder than his blood? His blood's redder than your blood. You don't know in Hashem's eyes. You're a heilig yid. He's a heilig yid. We don't know who Hashem wants to live, who Hashem doesn't want to live. I can't give you a heter to save Moshe Rosenberg. So the Bachur heard this psak. He came back a few minutes later to Rav Meislish and he says, I can't stay alive. I can't stay alive knowing that Moshe Rosenberg's going to die. I have nothing. I'm under the soles of his feet. So I decided that if you don't give me a heter, if you don't tell me it's mutter, then I'm going to do it. If you don't say it's usher, I'm going to do it on one condition. You have to promise me that I'm not considered suicide, which is ein lechelik le'olam haba. Promise me that I'm going to go to Olam Haba if I do it.
How's he supposed to question him?
So Meislish,
How's he supposed to pass him like that?
who was shocked and inspired by this boy's, the might of his energy, of his personality, he screamed at him and he says, I told you, I can't tell you it's the right thing, and therefore I can't promise you you're going to go to Elam Haba. It may be the wrong thing to do. I can't tell you. So the Bacher broke down crying and he says, Rabbi, I know Moshe Rosenberg is the one who should be living. I know that I'm the one, my life is nothing, that I should die. He says, I saw my family die. And even now, you're taking away from me the ability to lose my life to save someone else's life. Rabbi, I have nothing left. He says, Rav Meislish was like geshuckled, he was like shattered, shooken by what the Spacher said. But he says, sorry, I can't give you a heter to do that. I can't give you a heter to cause yourself to die to save someone else's life. But then Rav Meislish says that Rosh Hashanah, that day, that same day, before this 1,400 Bachim were killed, he actually had a shofar. And he brought the shofar in Auschwitz, and he said he went from block to block, and there were 20 blocks. He blew 100 koilos. 100 koilos, 20 times. Can you imagine? Some Bali Tekiya can't even get it. When they get to 95, 96, it's like you're holding your breath already, like what's going to happen to him? 2,000 koilos. Okay, he was the only one. And it seems from the story that the Nazis, the SS murderers, the capos were there in the morning, and the Nazis were sleeping in the morning. They would come a little bit later in the day. It seems from the story.
He was able to,
Right. So when these 1,400 Bacharim heard that Rav Meislish was walking around with a shofar, they sent him a message. They couldn't come out. They sent a message to the capo, Rabbi, please come blow the shofar by us. We want to hear. We're going to die today.
Right. Yeah.
Let us hear Tekiya shofar for the last time. So Rav Meilish's son was there with him, and he says, Rabbi, Tati, if you go there and the Nazis come to kill them while you're there, you're going along with them. He says, you can't go there to blow for them. And the kids sent the messages, Rabbi, they were crying, Have Rachmanis, please give us the mitzvah of Tekiya shofar one last time. This is the last mitzvah we're going to have on this world. Please, please, please. And they begged him, and he was masking finally to go, but they set up a guard system that as soon as the Nazis were seen off in the distance, someone's going to stop him, even if it's in the middle of the Meir Koilos. So they had a system. Anyway, so he starts off saying, Minamei tzar karosiko. And the boy said, Rebbe, we don't have time for psukim. We want a drasha instead. We want a drasha, not the psukim, please. So he puts down the shofar, and he looks around the room at 1,400 pure eyes looking at him, who want to hear a little hisayrus before their last Tekiya shofar. And he says, we say in Tehillim, Tiku b'chodesh shofar, b'keseh liyayim chagenu, ki chok liyisrael hu, mishpat leleikei Yaakov. So he says, Pashup Pshat is, we blow the shofar, ki chok liyisrael, because that's the mitzvah to do it. But he says, Kinderlach, Tiku b'chodesh shofar b'keseh. Keseh is when the Mulavana is mechusa, when things are hidden. We don't know Hashem's ways. We don't know Hashem's ways. We don't know why we're here, why tomorrow we may not be here. We don't know. B'keseh liyayim chagenu. Ki choik liyisrael hu mishpat l'lekayakov. The Eibishter has his chukim, he has his mishpatim. We don't know. But what we do know is that we have to keep the mitzvahs of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and tickle. We're going to blow that shofar and we do the Ratzon Hashem. And he said, Weiter, I want you to know, Kinderlach, Afilu cherev chada bunachas al tzavar shel adam al yimna atzmai min harachamim. Just like Yehuda with Tamar. Tamar sent to Yehuda, he shalcha el chamiha lemar, right? Lish asher eila loy anaychi hara. She sent him the message. The Medrash says the fire was already lit under her when she sent that message to Yehuda. She was already being burned. And Yehuda was moida, and they pulled her out of the flames. And he said, Kinderlach, don't give up. Don't be nesiyaish min harachamim. And even at the last moment, it's possible that everything will work out. And what happened from Tamar? She was the mother of Mashiach. Things look like everything's ending, but no, that's where things are being born sometimes. And he says, Yidden, Kinderlach, please, Al mis yash min harachamim, daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and don't forget to say Shema Yisrael. And then he took out the shofar and he blew the mea kailos, and he was about to leave. And then one of the Bachrim said to him, Chevra, my friends, says, listen to what the Rebbe just said. The Rebbe just said to us that afilu cherev chada munachas al tzavar shel adam al yimna atzmo min harachamim. He says we have to hope for the best. We have to hope for the best. But let's look at our situation realistically and remember that we're going to keep on davening, but we should not forget to say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, because that's what the Rebbe is teaching us, that we have to remember we're here for the Ratzon of Hashem. Ki chayk li Yisrael hu mishpat lo lekei Yaakov. It's from Hashem. It's from Hashem. We can't understand it. They all started to scream out together at that time, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. When the Midrash was leaving this block, they said to him, Rabbi, we can't thank you for being mezaka us in this last mitzvah. There's nothing we could say to you. Like you gave us our last mitzvah on this world. But we give you a bracha that you should survive. V'kachave. He left the block in time and he wrote down these stories for us to remember the gadlus hanefesh, the amazing Mesiras Nefesh, the amazing Kabbalas Oil Malchus Shemayim that so many Heilige Yidden have. And that's what we daven for. V'chasveinu b'sefer hachayim lemancha. Lemancha. We want to live. Why? Lemancha. For you, Hashem. We want our lives to be your lives of lemancha elikim chayim. And that's how these Yidden inspire us. They teach us what life is really all about. By losing their life, they teach us what life really is about. They teach us how there's life after death. How, if we make the cheshbon hanefesh, if we do the tshuva properly, if we are oizev esachet, if we are mischaret, if we're mekabel ala asid, if we do vidui, we're new people. We're screaming Shema Yisrael while we're alive, not while we're dead, but while we're alive. Famous line. It's hard to die al Kiddush Hashem. It's even harder to live al Kiddush Hashem. And this is the inspiration they're leaving us, that v'chasveinu b'sefer hachayim lemancha elokim chayim. Hagatten.